Okay, we'll start with our blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol hamim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. So nice to see each of you. A belated Chodesh Tov for this month of Tammuz, which is such a challenging month. The spies left on their wandering in the land of Israel on the 29th of Sivan, which means that they spent then the entire month of Tammuz and a week or so in the month of Av, wandering in the land, checking it out and seeing it from their perspective, which very sadly became a warped perspective. So this month, the spiritual quality of this month is the quality of sight. And we are invited, encouraged to look at the world through clear eyes and a Torah lens. And our lens is one that provides, I have graduated lenses so that I can see my computer, I can look at reading, I can look far if I'm driving, all of those things. And it just kind of shifts. And once you get used to it, it just kind of blends the whole thing together. But the eyes we want to look with are eyes that hold both the past of Hashem's promises to the Jewish people, the lens of the future, of the vision, what Hashem has promised us for the future and where things are going, and to bring all that into our current situation, the way life is now. And when we can look through those lenses, then we will be able to see clearly. It won't always be comfortable, but it will be clear. And that is the most important thing. So, God willing, we can look at the world through in that way. Rabbi Dov Ber Cohen also had a beautiful, short Devar Torah about the month of Tammuz being the month with sight where we look past the superficial and see that which is internal and essential, because we are all of us are impacted by how things look on the outside. And that's how we have to be in order to function in this world. We cannot do a deep dive analysis of every single person or every single situation as we navigate the world, because we wouldn't be able to step foot out the door. However, we need to know that we are operating in that limited way. And with that limitation, we need to understand that we're probably making mistakes and assumptions that are not accurate. So at least check. So it's a little bit like being, in a funhouse mirror. When you go in and you see it and you know that it's a funhouse mirror because you can see that you don't look like how you really look. Though I will say, and Elaine Asarch might remember this, many years ago at Rosh Shalom, when I got married, the old all-purpose room, which is where I got dressed for my wedding, it had a mirror in there, like a long mirror, but it was a little wonky. And there I am in my wedding dress looking in this mirror like a fun house. And I got hysterical. I'm like, I can't believe I look like this. And my aunt, thank God, was in the shoes. You don't look like that. That's not how you look. But that's what I see. I'm seeing shoes. It's the mirror. It's not you. So challenge is, if you know you're in a fun house, then you can laugh and then you know you're in a fun house. If you don't know that it's a fun house mirror, then you might think that that's reality. So this is the time during the month of Tammuz is to see, am I looking at this through a funhouse mirror glasses lens, or do I see clearly? And we should check it out, because all of us have our biases, because we have to function in that way in the world. And so it's not a fault. It's a necessity, but it's something that we need to also pay attention to. So God willing, in the month of Tammuz, that we can focus on that sight and that kind of perspective. Welcome to everybody who's joined us. So glad to see you. This week's parsha is Parshas Korach. And Korach, first of all, we have to understand that Korach, who is described as a rasha, as a wicked person, he has a parsha named for him. So that's something. As does the other person who has a parsha named for him is Balak. the king who hires Bilam to curse us. So we have two kind of unusual parshas that carry the names of people that we tend to associate with negativity and something bad. But this is according to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who has only a positive bias, and that's his perspective. He wrote, actually, a book was written based on his teachings called The Positivity Bias. And he talks about that was his thing, was looking at the world from a positive perspective. And he does an analysis of people who we consider wicked, and he's able to see that yes, they made mistakes. Yes, they did the wrong thing. Yes, there needed to be consequence, and we don't want to be like them in that way. However, there are aspects of them that we can learn from. So we know that Balak, that King Balak, that he was an ancestor of Ruth, Hamoaviyah, the Moabite. So we know that he produced something good because she comes from him. And who comes from Korach? Korach's descendant is Samuel, Shmuel, the prophet. Now, Shmuel was not just some prophet, he was like the prophet, and he's the one who anointed both King Saul and King David, and he guided the people until kings were established. He was the one who led the Jewish people, and his righteousness and his greatness is mentioned in conjunction with Moshe and Aaron every Friday night. We say that Moshe and Aaron and Samuel, Shmuel, like together are these great people who called in the name of God. Now, Shmuel wasn't Moshe and he wasn't Aaron, he was Shmuel, but they achieved each of them fulfilled their potential, and that was Shmuel. And he is a descendant of Korach. So that means there is something in Korach that gets passed down to Shmuel. So this is Korach. We begin the parsha on page 820, and it starts off, Vayikach Korach. Vayikach Korach, page 821. Sorry, it's for the English. And it gives us his lineage. Korach, the son of Yitzchar, son of Kahat, son of Levi, separated himself with Datan and Aviram, sons of Eliab, and On, son of Peleth, the offspring of Reuven. So we're going to focus on, just as a sidelight, Datan and Aviram are like these people in a movie who are the sidekicks who are always doing something to rebel against Moshe and cause problems. So they join up with Korach's rebellion and his challenge of Moshe. But we're going to look at the genealogy, because the genealogy of Korach tells us a little bit about what is motivating him. So we'll find out who he is and what he says and what's behind it and what the challenge is all about and how we can understand and appreciate it and recognize it for the danger that he presented to the Jewish people, and the fact that this dangerous assumption and presumptions continue in our world and cause just as much of a problem as Korach tried to cause. So let's begin. Korach, son of Yitzchar, son of Kahat, son of Levi. Okay, so keep your string there. And now turn back to page 741, and we're going to see the lineage of this family here. 741. Okay. Chapter 3, verse 27. Kahat had the family, and we're going to take off the ites at the end of it because I think it makes it hard to follow. Kahat had the family of Amram, Yitzchar, the family of Hebron, and the family of Uziel. Those were the Kahat families, and Kahat was a child of Levi. Okay, so Levi had a child named Kahat, and Kahat had 4 sons: Amram, Yitzchar, Hebron, and Uziel. Okay, so this is listed in age order. Yes, Miriam?
Yeah. So he was in the priesthood.
He was not in the priesthood. He was a Levi.
Levi,
He's a
Levi,
Levi. So
right?
Levi,
Okay.
so
Well, I know they're not in the line of Aaron, but I think of them as part of the priesthood because they came and sang on the steps and all that kind of stuff. Okay.
yes, you would have been a very good person to speak to Korach and remind him that that was going to be his job because he did not feel that was enough. So let's
Yeah.
take a look at what his complaint is. So Amram, we know who Amram's children are. Amram's children are Moshe, Aaron, and Miriam. So those are Amram's children, and Amram was the oldest. So you have Amram's children of Moshe and Aaron who are leading the Jewish people. And then we're going to have also, just as an aside, Miriam, who marries Caleb, and they have a child named Hur, who then has a child named Bezalel. Who is Bezalel? He's the one who is in charge of building the Mishkan. So now we have all the quote important people being from Amram's kids. Because basically it's Miriam's grandson is the builder of the Mishkan. You have Moshe as head of the Jewish people, Moshe Rabbeinu, and Aaron is the high priest. So if you're into looking for nepotism, you could say like this family seems to have gotten a lot of the honor. Next is Yitzchar and Hebron and the family of Uziel. Now, what do we just say? You don't have to go back to it, but what do we say is where is Korach from? He is from Yitzchar. Yitzchar, where is he in the family order? He comes right after Amram. So it goes Amram, Yitzchar. So Korach is is a child of Yitzchar. So he's the second oldest. Then there is Hebron, and then there's Uziel. Uziel is the youngest. Now, we've read over time, and we probably don't pay any attention to it at all, but the leaders, you remember we have different things like the leader of this person or that person is the leaders of each of like the families, and it gives the name. So the leader of the Kahat family, of those brothers there, is Elitzaphan ben Uziel. Elitzaphan ben Uziel. Uziel is the youngest child, and he is considered the head of the Kahat family, which means it just skipped Korach, who is from the second in line, and went all the way down to the child of Uziel. Now, you're looking at this, and it says Korach was motivated by jealousy, the desire for honor, and he looks at all this and sees that he has been over what he considers overlooked, and decides that Moshe and Aaron are the ones who are calling the shots and determining who's getting picked at his expense. But of course, he doesn't come and make that argument. Instead, he becomes a populist, and he comes to Moshe and Aaron with the people he's kind of talked into following him. And let's go back to page 821. So he comes with these people, and he says, they stood before Moshe with 250 men from the children of Israel, leaders of the assembly, those summoned for meeting, men of renown. These were important people. They gathered together against Moshe and against Aaron and said to them, it is too much for you. Like, you have too much. For the entire assembly, all of them are holy, and Hashem is among them. Why do you exalt yourselves over the congregation of Hashem? We're all holy. Who put you in charge? So now we have to fill in the rest of the conversation. Nobody is saying that Moshe and Aaron weren't supposed to be the ones taking the Jewish people out of Egypt. No one is saying that they shouldn't have been the ones who were involved in getting the Torah from Har Sinai. No one's saying that. But according to Korach, it's like, die, enough. You can retire now, because what do we remember, specifically the language with the building of the Mishkan? What did God say to the Jewish people? Said, You shall build this Mishkan, Vishachanti betocham, and I will dwell, the divine presence will dwell not in the Mishkan, in you. The divine presence is going to dwell in you. You are all holy. And that is the language that Korach uses, where he says, hold on one second. If you look in the Hebrew, the third line from the bottom, Kulam Kadoshim Uvtocham. Everyone is holy and it's in them. That in other words, we don't need you to be in charge of us. We're all holy. Anyone can be holy, all the Jewish people. And what else? So we have to say Korach had a point because Hashem did say that. And what else did Hashem say? He also said that you, the Jewish people, are going to be a mamlechet kohanim. You are going to be a kingdom of kohanim, of priests, v'goy kadosh, and a holy nation, which sounds very democratic, very equal. We're all the same. So don't lord over us. And it says that Korach brought certain halachic issues, and he made the point, he said, if a garment is completely blue, do you need to have a blue thread? And the halachic answer is yes. And if a room in your house is completely filled with Torah scrolls, do you need to have a mezuzah on it to make it even more holy? And the answer is yes. So he was trying to be snide and sarcastic because it sounds in a way a little logical. Like, really? Like if it's all blue and you still need to have something that stands out and is different, and you have a whole room full of Sfarim that are, holy, you still have to have a mezuzah that makes it even more holy. That doesn't sound necessarily like such a crazy question. But he was asking those questions to make the point of like, we are all the same. Hashem said so. So why are you lording over us? And why are you taking all the power? It's for everyone. However, we're going to go to Moshe's response, but we're going to come back to Korach's question and the fundamental idea that was behind it. Moshe understands exactly what Korach really wants. So turn the page to page 823. And he says, chapter 16, verse 8. Moshe says to Korach, and this goes to what Miriam was saying, hear now, O offspring of Levi, hand, you are the Leviim. Is it not enough for you that the God of Israel has segregated you? And the word that is used is ki hivdil, that God has made a havdalah, a differentiation from you, from the assembly of Israel, to draw you near to himself, to perform the service of the tabernacle of Hashem. Because what was the job of the family of Kahat? They had the most significant of all the Levite jobs. If you remember back at the beginning of Bamidbar, we're talking about how the Mishkan was taken down and transported. One family was given basically what I would consider all the honors. They got the menorah, the shulchan, and the Aron Kodesh, and the altars. The other people, the other Levite families got the rug coverings, the curtains, and the planks. So if you were going to say what was the highest level Levi job you could have, in addition to the future singing, you would have to say it was the family of Kahat and what Korach got to do. So this is what Moshe is saying to him, is like, is this like not enough? And then he says, and he drew you near, verse 10, and all your brethren, the offspring of Levi, with you, and then here's the clincher, yet you seek priesthood as well. So what was Korach really saying? He wasn't really saying, he was saying what a lot of populist leaders say, I'm doing it for the people. I want the people to have. It's like, no, you don't. You want power for yourself, and you are smooth talking, and you get other people to join your crowd when you're really looking for power yourself. And Moshe called him out on it and said, You seek the priesthood. And he continues on. Therefore, you and your entire assembly that are joining together, you're against Hashem, because Hashem's the one who chose Aaron as the priest. I did not choose him. And as for Aaron, he narrows it down. What is it? What is he that you protest against him? Like, what's your beef with him? So what he was saying is, you may have this populist argument, we're all the same, but that is not what you're really asking for. Because what you're really saying is, okay, Moshe and Aaron, you had your turn. Granted, you're from the family that's the oldest, but now die. Enough. Move aside, retire, and now it's my turn because I'm the next oldest, and you already skipped me. You, Moshe and Aaron, you already skipped me when you made head of the Kahat family, the baby brother. And like, I'm not taking it. So Moshe calls him on it. So this is one part of it, is like that he's so blinded by jealousy. And so he instigates this whole rebellion when really it was just a completely self-interested perspective that he was trying to foment against Moshe and Aaron. Okay, so as we know how this works out in the end is it doesn't work out for Korach. Now, I want to share just for a moment what the Lubavitcher Rebbe says about Korach, about seeing the good. It said, yes, so interesting things about Korach. It said, he was a Talmid Chacham. He was wise in Torah. He was not a degenerate person. He was a leader person. He was the wealthiest person. In fact, it has become a saying of wealthy, like as rich as Korach. So he was the wealthiest person. Not that there were too much shopping opportunities that were going on in the Midbar while they were there, but he was the wealthiest person. He had everything. Does this sound a little bit like a Haman thing of like, you can have everything, but if you don't have one thing, it's like the rest of it means nothing to me. So it says it's like he got swallowed up by his desire for honor and power and prestige. However, what the Lubavitcher Rebbe would say is, look at what he wanted. He wanted to be the Kohen Gadol. That's not a bad thing to want. He wanted to be able to go into the Kodesh Kadoshim and the Holy of Holies. He wanted to represent the people. He wanted to have a peak spiritual experience. And he also wanted to have the honor and the glory and everything else. But it's like the difference when, someone says, I want my name to be on the front of a hospital dedicated to, children with, whatever terrible medical issue. You'd be like, well, they just want glory. I'm like, okay, but look what they want to be glorified through. They didn't say, I want a yacht. They didn't say, I want something that's just for my physical pleasure. I want the honor, but I want to benefit other people. So the fact that Korach wanted so badly, even though he went so off track in how he pursued it, this is part of who he is, and it gets manifested later in Shmuel and Samuel the prophet, who served the people, who went as a child to the Mishkan. If you remember when he was a child, his mother, Hannah, for those of us who went to Shiloh together, his mother prays to have a child, and she says, I will give him as soon as he's weaned, I will take him to the Mishkan and he will serve Eli, the high priest, he'll serve in the Mishkan the rest of his life, and he'll serve the Jewish people. So Shmuel had that same yearning for spiritual connection, except it was done in a healthy way. So what the Lubavitcher Rebbe would say is, we shouldn't be so quick that Korach still needed to be punished and consequences, but we shouldn't be so quick to completely write him off completely. Nor should we be so quick to write off anybody completely. It's to say, there's so many different aspects of a person, and that we can see and we can even extract what's the kernel of good in this person. What is it that they're seeking that might have some merit? And the same thing about ourselves, that we can do the same thing about ourselves. So this is Korach. But now what we want to look at is this argument that he has, because why was he wrong? Let's take away the jealousy and let's just look at what he says. All the Jewish people are holy. We are a Mamlechet Kohanim, a kingdom of priests who minister to everyone. And that God said, if you build the Mishkan, V'shachanti b'tocham, I will, sorry, my phone is ringing. I will dwell among you equally. So what does that really mean? So this comes from the writings of Rav Kook, who was the first Ashkenazi chief rabbi of Israel, who actually did not live to see the Jewish Israel become a state. He passed away in the 30s, but his love of all Jewish people was amazing. Some people faulted him for it because he was embracing of all sorts of people. But it's actually a man who lives in our community who has written several books based on his writing. So I'm taking it from there. So Rav Kook says this is very interesting to look at this, and we can see an important idea that emerges for us. There are two kind of paradoxical ideas in Judaism. One is the idea of chibur, which is coming together like a chaver, of connection and unification and bringing together, kind of like it's where we want everyone to be together and everyone, kind of like everyone is the same. And then there is the idea of havdalah, which means separation and not all the same. And we kind of walk in between those two ideas. So we do have an idea on the chibur side, on the connection side, that God is in our midst and that we are all holy. And that is all true. But even with the tribe of Levi, we say there has been a havdalah, that Levi has been set aside to do a certain function. So I think the clearest way to understand this, and it's comes also from his writings, is looking at our physical body. If we look at our body, we have a head, we have a brain, we have eyes, we have a heart, we have lungs, we have skin, we have muscles, we have bones, we have feet, we have fingers, we have so many different parts of us, and yet we are all one person. Nobody in their right mind would think that it would be ideal if all the cells of the body and all the organs were the same. That's an impossibility. There have to be differentiations, but for the purpose of the complete functioning. So that when my hand is working, it helps the rest of my body function in this world. And in fact, I want my hand to have ideal handness and movement. So I just went to the doctor the other day because I have frozen shoulders, so I don't have full mobility in my arm, was like, okay, you can adjust. But like my grandchildren were really surprised when I said I could only raise my arm like halfway up. They're like, their eyes open up like, that's so weird. So we ideally like to have full expression of each part of our body, not for just my arm's sake, but so I can get dressed, so I can reach the pan on the top shelf. And so I don't have to think which arm should I put through my blouse first, so that you can just get ready. So every part has to function in its ideal way, which requires differentiation and requires separation for the purpose of putting together. So it is not separation for the sake of separation. So we see also about the Jewish people compared to the rest of humanity. We have all these things. I have separated you out, the Jewish people. You will not be like the other nations. And we say this every week at Havdalah. That's part of the Havdalah blessing. When we say Hamavdil bein kodesh l'chol, to make a separation between holy and ordinary, bein or l'choshech, between light and darkness, bein Yisrael, and between the Jewish people and all other people. So it's like all of these separations. So then Jewish people get accused of, well, the problem with the Jews is you're separating yourself. It's like, yes, because we have to be able to function fully as Jewish people in order to benefit all of humanity. So there is a point. It's like, well, what is that point? To what extent do we integrate, and to what extent do we separate? And that has been the challenge of the Jewish people forever, and even within the Jewish people. And we have that with the genders. Men and women are different. Day and night are different. And each one is meant to develop its full potential so that it can contribute to the whole. So for the Jewish people, based on Korach's understanding, or what Korach was saying, is like everyone can be the same. It's all open. It's all equal. Everyone's the same. And Hashem is saying, no, in order for the Jewish people to function at its highest, there need to be, I'm going to call it the head, the Kohanim. There need to be the leaders, the king, the prophets, those people who have that role, the Levites, the men, the women, the farmers. All of these things have to function each in their own realm for the benefit of everyone. So now there's a lot of political things going on, especially in the United States, with ideas of like, no, everything, we don't want any billionaires. It's like, oh, yes, you do, because you need people who have money to make things happen. And as long as the money is earned ethically and honestly, we absolutely want people who have a lot of money. We don't want everybody being knocked down. Do we want people to be able to be brought up? For sure, but not by knocking down other people who have more, who have whatever privileges or whatever. People are getting themselves so tied up with language. It's all the same. Everyone's the same. No, they are not, and they shouldn't be. It goes against how Hashem designed the world. So if you look at from the very beginning of creation, it says the God separated between day and night and called the light day and the night and the darkness night. He separates between the waters, the upper waters and the lower waters. He separates between land and sea. He separates between the different kinds of animals and fish. He separates between men and women. He separates all these things as separations, not because separation in and of itself is the goal, but it is essential for the process of bringing it all together. I remember one time, a long time ago at a women's retreat, having a discussion argument with somebody who was on the like, men and women are the same. They should be doing the same thing, whatever Jewishly is like, because that's how it's all meant to be. It's like, they're meant to be unified, not homogenized. It's no benefit. The benefit comes when each can fulfill its purpose and then come together. The same thing with even Hashem creating man and woman, of taking that first Adam, saying, you're right. In the end, the unification is the goal. But the process for getting to the goal is I'm going to separate them and divide them into man and woman and then bring them back together. So we're still in the process part where we require the differentiation. And humanity, and it keeps happening, is like as soon as one generation forgets how it went so poorly, keeps falling into the same trap of thinking that they are improving the world by coming up with this idea that everybody's the same. So what is the same is every person is created in the image of God. Every person is deserving of respect. Every person is able to have a personal relationship with God. And everybody's path is going to look a little bit different. Interestingly, it says that when the Jewish people stood at Mount Sinai, it says that they saw the voices. They saw the voices, not the voice. It says that everyone heard in the voice that was appropriate for them. Like to be able to say, like, what my mission is, I hear the voice that is for me. You hear the voice that is for you. It's all coming from one source and it's meant to be unified, but it's not the same. Just as Moshe, Aaron, and Shmuel are not the same. Just the way Moshe and Aaron aren't even the same. Just as none of us are the same. However, we have to really understand and not fall into the trap. It has there's something very poetically compelling about it because it sounds really nice. It sounds very, what's the word? Utopian. It sounds very utopian. So the people who make a mistake, who want to start with unification, always end up causing misery and separation, death and destruction. And the people who understand the appropriate havdalah of the different pieces are able to create an actual shalom. So when Korach comes up with this idea, this has to be nipped in the bud immediately because it will destroy the Jewish people. And what was most dangerous about it is that it had this appeal. Because if you think about it, like the sin of the golden calf, the Jewish people knew that was wrong. They knew that was wrong. The spies, they figured that out pretty quickly afterwards, that was not so great, that they made a mistake on that. But Korach, he was a smooth talker. It said actually the word Korach and also make the word Kerach, which means ice. That he was also, and he was korech, that he was bald. He was slippery. He was a smooth talker, and he was able to bring people in on like, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. So I had to be very careful. I remember talking to a friend of mine, very sad. Her son heard, oh, what's his name? I didn't plan to say this, so I don't remember his name. Oh. He's a linguist, he's Jewish, and he's terrible. I forget his name, but Chomsky. Thank you, Carol. Noam Chomsky. And he was speaking like against Israel. And he was speaking at Brandeis, and the person who was there said, you know what? It made a lot of sense what he said. I said, just because somebody sounds logical and is smooth talking does not mean it's right. But that's the hardest thing to pull off. So we need to know for ourselves, in our own world, in our families, in our community, that these divisions and these havdalahs are critical to the ultimate goal, because we get very defensive. If someone says the Jews are always being separate, they always make themselves out to be, they're the chosen, blah, 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 all these things. And we get very defensive and saying, yes, you are absolutely right. The Jewish people are meant to keep themselves a little bit separate in order to fully function so that we can benefit humanity, and that we are chosen to serve. And in order to serve, you have to have a little bit of an identity that is protected. And that is our goal. So those words are fighting words these days. You can say this, you can end up getting, smacked. So we say that this argument is very challenging, but we have to have it in our head and really understand it. So this is Korach. This is that quality. We don't want to fall for it. And we're supposed to understand this also in another way, which is less dramatic, but personally can impact us, which is the other people in our lives. That whatever somebody has is meant for them, for their role, their function in the world. And what's on their plate has nothing to do with me. That each of us is designed to be able to serve Hashem from whatever role we have. And whatever our role is does not determine how much influence or how much success we have in our spiritual growth. You don't have to be, well, if only I was. This people make a very big, well, if only I was, whatever. If only I lived here, if only I had this, if only this, then I would be able to grow spiritually. Says that is a non-starter. Whatever it is we have, we can grow from that place. And Korach that's what's so sad, is he had the potential to be the greatest leader, and instead he went completely off track. Now, interestingly, it says in the commentary is that he was able to see that Samuel was going to come from him. And that's what kind of, in a reverse way, heightened his confidence that he should try to do something against Moshe and Aaron, because he was like, see how important I am? Look who comes from me. So if you see like someone's really important coming from you, it's like, so then I can step up and go against Moshe and Aaron. Instead of being humbled by it and say, clearly, if someone like Shmuel comes from me, then who I am in the role that I have is exactly what Hashem wants for me, and I will serve Hashem from where I am. So that was his opportunity that he missed, but at least he had a spiritual goal that was the underpinning of it. This parsha is very challenging because Korach and his family and his followers get swallowed up, people get killed, and it kind of goes from bad to worse because then the Jewish people start accusing Moshe and Aaron of killing all the people. So at the very end, there is a beautiful, there's a beautiful, what should I say? There's a beautiful test that goes on. And let's take a look at it. Hold on one second. Okay. Page 829. 820, chapter 17, verse 16. This is going to be another proof of Aaron's greatness, since that clearly was what Korach was after. Hashem spoke to Moshe, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel and take from them one staff for each father's house, from all their leaders according to their father's house, 12 staffs. Each man's name shall you inscribe on his staff, and the name of Aaron shall you inscribe on the staff of Levi, for there shall be one staff for the head of their father's house. You shall lay them in the tent of meeting before the testimony where I meet with you. It shall be that the man whom I shall choose, his staff will blossom. Thus I shall cause to subside from me the complaints of the children of Israel, which they complain against you." So they do that whole thing. And verse 22, Moshe laid their staffs before Hashem in the tent of testimony. On the next day, Moshe came to the tent of the testimony, and behold, the staff of Aaron and the house of Levi had blossomed. It brought forth a blossom, sprouted a bud, and almonds ripened. Moshe brought out all the staffs from before Hashem to all the children of Israel. They saw and they took each man his staff, and Hashem says that this will be a sign. So Moshe did this. Hold on one second. And then that staff is going to go into I'm looking for that. I'm sorry. Verse 25, Hashem said to Moshe, "Bring back the staff of Aaron before the testimony as a safekeeping, as a sign for rebellious ones. Let their complaints cease from me that they not die." Moshe did as Hashem had commanded for him, so he did. So we have the staff like this. After you would think that the earth swallowing up Korach, and then people being killed, and then a plague, and like all of these things, you would have thought, like, I don't think I need any more proof. I don't need any proof. I think we're good. However, think about how the people are feeling. There's a lot of death and destruction. The Jewish people are young here as a nation. When they were in Egypt, they saw Moshe's staff and Aaron's staff being used to initiate plagues. Then they saw the staff being used to have the sea split and all the Egyptians die. And then they had the aftermath of the golden calf. And then we had like the complaints, and then we had the spies. So if you were somebody just looking in on this early Jewish history, you might come to the conclusion that God is a punishing God. Like, God must not really like us very much because a lot of people keep getting killed. Now, having grown up in a non-Jewish neighborhood, I had people who were Christians say to me frequently, "The Jewish God is a punishing God. Our God, Jesus, is a God of love." It's like, I mean, I knew that was wrong, but if you just read some things, you might come to that conclusion. And if you're a Jewish people in the early years of the Jewish people, you might think like, how are we going to survive this? It seems like somebody's always getting in very big trouble, and this isn't going to work for us. So Hashem saying this staff, Aaron's staff, and the staff is not meant only to be something that is used and to symbolize and signal the beginning of some sort of punishment and consequence and destruction. It's meant to guide you. And so then we have this completely different test, which somehow makes everyone feel much more relaxed and confident and comfortable, which is take all the staffs, put them in the tent of meeting, and let's see what happens. And then Aaron's staff, instead of having anything that's destructive, we have buds, sprouts, flowers, and almonds. It's like basically we have is beautiful, sweet smelling, delicious growth. It's like, what is it really all about? It's like, I'm trying to grow you. Aaron's role, Moshe's role, my role as your creator is for you to grow and to blossom and to bear fruit. And we say it was a fruitful experience. They blossomed. It says this is what it's all about. So this is why Hashem says, take that staff and put it in. It's like it's in with the Omer of Man and the broken luchot and the staff and the regular luchot, the full ones. So now think about the message that the Jewish people will get from the totality of what's in there. The only thing that was for sure, I won't say good, but the only thing that seemed like a for sure kind of good thing is the second luchot, the second set of tablets. That's good. God must love us because he did give us this. But what's also in the ark are the broken tablets. And what is Hashem saying? I want you broken also. When you're broken, I also love you. When you're broken, when you're whole, I love you both. And the manna, that was after they had complained about it. And it's like, take this manna and they'll remember that I'm taking care of you. I'm taking care of you. And now the staff is, I want you to grow. So if you had to make yourself like a Jewish scouting badge, it would be like, to put on it like the full luchot, the broken luchot, the container of the Omer of Man, to remember that every individual is being individually cared for and guided by Hashem. And the staff is, I only want you to grow and blossom and be fruitful and to flourish. And that's what's in our Holy of Holies. That's what's there. So when we think about in totality, it's like, what are we supposed to learn? Is that Korach is like, it's great you want spirituality. It's great that you want to be elevated. That's amazing. And there's a way, and there's a way that's not. And the way that is the way that's pointed out through the final symbol, which is the symbol of the almonds. And as we know, the almonds, what do we learn at Tu B'Shvat? We say, Hashkedia Porachat, that the almond trees are the first to blossom. And that root from shaked means to do something with alacrity. And that is the goal, is to be quick and to take opportunities and seize opportunities for spiritual growth that come to us and act on them swiftly as Aaron did. So he is our role model. And when we see people who are separated out for a certain function, a certain role in our lives, in our community, in our family, in our city, whatever it might be, that we're supposed to understand that it is supposed to be for the ultimate benefit. Now, obviously, if somebody approaches it from an egotistical perspective and is only looking for honor and glory, then they have misappropriated their opportunity. But we learn from Moshe and Aaron, what do they do when they were confronted? The first thing they did is like fall on their faces, which is a sign of humility. It's like, you think we want greatness? How much did Moshe object to being in charge? And how much did he say, I can't take care of all these people and their complaints? Like, what am I, like their nursing mother that I'm carrying them? Like, help. They weren't looking for honor or for glory. They're only looking to serve. So service leadership is what we are all about. And when each part can do its part fully and completely and then link itself to the entire whole, that is when we'll be able to create the chibur, the connection that works. Because a chibur, that's the root of a word for a friend, a chaver. It's like a friend does not become you. It becomes a connection. So that is also a nice connection for this month. So we started with our conversation about the month of Tammuz and the quality of sight. And the other piece that goes with that is that the Hebrew letter, that is the letter for the month of Tammuz, is the letter Chet. The letter Chet is a beautiful, complicated letter. It's the only letter that has something added to it to make it into a letter. So the way it's written in the Torah. So it's a Vav and a Zion with a little like inverted, like a V connecting the two tops. The top of the Vav and the top of the Zion, they don't just get connected together. They're like that. It's like a flat line in a Siddur, like when you see it in the Chumash when it's written, but that's not the way it looks in the Torah. In the Torah, there's a little upside down V that connects the Vav and the Zion. So sometimes when a Torah becomes puzzle, where it becomes ineligible to read from, it's very likely that it's because of that little inverted V, because it's very thin and it can crack off easily. And if it cracks off, then you have two letters. You have a Vav and a Zion. But when they're connected, you get a new letter that's called Chet. So the Vav is considered a masculine letter. A Zion is considered a feminine letter. And when they're put together, they create a whole new letter. But in order to be a letter, they have to both be separate and differentiated as well as connected. And this is the most challenging place to be. It is easier to be two separate letters doing your own thing. Or it's easier to say, we're just going to have one letter here, and it's just going to be this. Having it say, I'm separate enough, there is a difference, there is a havdalah between these two pieces, but there is for the purpose, that separation is not because I don't want to be connected to you. It's because I do want to be connected, but I can only be connected if I have my own identity. So the Vav has to be a good Vav, the Zion has to be a good Zion, and then you can make a Chet. If you don't have that, you don't have a letter. So this is what we want during the month of Tammuz, is to think about that in our own selves, in our relationships with other people, of having the proper perspective to see the other letters, the other people in our lives, and the role they serve and the function they have, but therefore also, what am I supposed to be doing? How can I fulfill my purpose? How can I see beneath the surface of who I think I am for what I'm supposed to be doing so that I can flourish and be the best me possible? Because the whole can only be as good as the individual parts that have been built up. So God willing, Hashem should bless us to be able to see that, appreciate it, fulfill our unique role and destiny and purpose in the small ways, big ways, and to recognize that we each and every single one of us is a vital part. So the other thing the Lubavitcher Rebbe said is that on someone's birthday, it's the anniversary of when Hashem decided that the world could no longer live without you. And so that if we are here in this world, that means that the world needs us. And I can't think of a more empowering, inspiring thought to have when we look at the world and sometimes want to just throw up our hands and think, what am I supposed to do? Say, whatever is in our place to do is what we're supposed to be doing. And we are not the president. We're not the prime minister. I'm looking around. None of us are senators. We're not representatives. We're not even whatever that is. It's like, so that clearly is not my role. I have to say this to myself every day. This is not my role. I'm not a member of Knesset. That's not my role. But I live in Mitzpeh Yericho. I live in Eretz Yisrael. I get to learn Torah with all of you. That must be my role. So, because that's what's in my party. So if Korach could have seen and truly appreciated the humongous great gifts that he was given, he would have been able to say, Rav Lachem, he could have been able to say, Rav Li, it is so much for me. instead of saying you have too much, is to say I have enough. I have exactly what I'm supposed to have. So thank you so much. I wish you a wonderful Shabbos. If anybody has any questions, I have a few minutes before I go eat dinner, and you're welcome to unmute. And it's great to see all of you. Thank you for joining me.
I have a question.
Yes. Yes,
Amazing.
question.
Okay, and I apologize, I cannot get my video to work again.
That's
anyway.
okay. I recognize your voice and I see your name.
Okay, I missed what page the you said the family not what is it called?
The family
Ancestry
tree.
chart. The family
Yes.
tree. Steph.
Yes. Yes. Page 741.
Okay,
And
740.
it's chapter 3, verse 27 and verse 30.
Okay, because I missed some of that, but as you were talking further, I was like, oh, I want to go back and make sure I get that lineage.
Yeah. And it's, and just Janice, from your saying that, it's just interesting that when we read those lineages, first of all, those names are not names that roll off our tongues. And honestly, we just kind of whoosh over our heads. And then you realize, oh, you can learn a lot when you see the lineage and find out who's where in the family. Like, oh, I see where this problem started. And it seems to be an ongoing problem. So yes, so thank you for that question.
Thank you.
Sure.
I
Any
have
other
a
questions?
question,
Yes,
Ellen.
Andy.
I
One
don't
moment.
understand, why couldn't Korach just get over himself?
He was jealous and greedy. That's what happens. It says that when it says Vayikach Korach, one of the understandings is it says when he took. The English in the Art Scroll says he separated himself. Back in page 821, where it says Korach. So the English is different than the Hebrew. The Hebrew says Vayikach Korach, and Korach took. And then in the Hebrew, it never says what he took. So the way they translate it is that he separated himself. So what did he separate himself? Not just he separated himself from Moshe and Aaron and where he was supposed to be. It says he separated himself from the world. That a person who basically falls into the trap of seeking honor and that lust for power, it says those things in Pirkei Avot, it says those things take you out of the world, and not just like they kill you, but you become almost like the living dead. It's like you have no life because you are oblivious to the life that you have because you're looking at something else. Andy.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Beautiful class.
Thank you. All
Ellen?
right. Anybody? Yes,
Ellen?
Gabi.
So just repeating again that, so I remember a long time ago, the Rebbe said, we can tell people on their birthday that
Yes.
God decided that the
They-
world cannot live with
So-
Egypt.
your birthday is the anniversary of when Hashem decided, because that's the day, the anniversary of when Hashem decided that the world can no longer exist or go on without you. In other words, your coming into the world was not an accident, and it was intentional that Hashem brought you into the world at the time you were born and the circumstances you were born into for a reason. Now,
So
this doesn't necessarily mean that those circumstances you need to stay in, because some people are born into very challenging circumstances, and nobody says you have to stay there. So you can say, Hashem brought me into this world, and my job is to change my circumstances, or to get out of them, or to improve them, or to whatever. But it was purposeful and not accidental and not just chance. So that's the most important thing, is our existence in this world at the time and place where we were born is intentional.
And you said that the world can't function without you?
Yes, can't go on without you. Like, you're essential. You are essential.
Oh, that's beautiful. So I want to say that to you, because I don't know if anyone knows or all of you know, but the Ellen just turned 70. That means completion, right? 7 is completion. And
hopefully I'm not complete. Hopefully I got
you're
I
going
still
to
have a lot
transcendence.
more to learn.
Oh, no, 80 is transcendence. You have a lot more to do. But
Okay.
But you are so amazing how you teach in that way, I meant. And
Thank
you
you.
have 8, and then, yeah, 9 is pregnancy. Oh, you have so much more going on.
Hopefully not pregnancy. Hopefully that's not
No, but
pregnancy.
grandkids, great-grandkids, you know what I mean. So,
Yes, I do. I'm just kidding you. Yes,
so
pregnant
I
with
don't know.
potential. Actually, it was funny, Gabi, you said that because I was talking to somebody about going to the mikveh that I had to take because we have a dishes mikveh, a kalim mikveh here. And I said something like, oh, I just need to stop at, I need to go to the mikveh today. And then I said, the kalim mikveh. She goes, yeah, I don't worry. I assumed that you weren't going to the mikveh, that was not in your parsha anymore. So
Well, you have
that's
like a
true.
baby face. You look so young, and I love your mitpacha. That blue is my color.
Oh, thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you. This was
Yeah.
actually a gift from Jan Jacobson of blessed memory. She gave me this. So,
Wow. And she has now, that's the one that has grandkids twins, right? Three
yeah,
girls.
yeah,
3
yeah,
girls.
yeah.
Because I see him at gym, right? I see him at shul. And
Very
he's
nice.
helping all the time. He's babysitting all the time
So nice.
with
All right,
yeah. So
ladies,
Yasher Koach was
thank you
amazing.
so much. It was great to see you all. Have a
Fantastic.
wonderful
Toda
Shabbos.
rabba, and a big
Ellen.
say
Bye.
hi to Steve and the kids.
Thank
And I
you
cannot believe your
so much.
breakfast, the breakfast you made for the Bachuri,
For
for
the
the
boys,
yeshiva.
oh, they were so sweet. They had a really nice time. It was so
Yeah,
fun.
well, that's hosting amazing with
It was very fun.
love.
It was
Yeah,
very fun.
amazing. That's how many hours it takes from Benjamin and Dalia to you? Depends on
It was
traffic.
about 45 minutes. It
Not
was
so bad. You're
yeah,
not
they
so
came early in
far.
the morning. They arrived at 7:15 in the morning, so they left
Oh
really early.
no. When did you make
Yes.
the breakfast? At 6?
I did it the night before I did things. It
Yeah,
was
smart.
easy. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, please give love to all of
I
Steve
will.
and the whole
Thank
family.
you. It's so nice
And
to
toda
see all of
rabba.
you. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful
Bye
Shabbos.
everyone. Toda
Bye-bye.
rabba. Bye.
Thank
Bete
you.
avon.